Today is the first day of the new year, the new liturgical year. And we are now in year C of the Revised Common Lectionary. Now, for Methodists, it's not a be-all, end-all. It's not required readings. But it's a good discipline to, at least for the preacher, and I think it's good for the people to hear, that you can go through most of the Bible in 3 years, A, B, and C. Now we're in, so you've completed. No, we're about to complete it. This is the beginning of year C. But you can go through it in pretty much 3 years, and most of the scriptures in the Bible, if you follow the Revised Common Lectionary. And then your scriptures are similar with the Roman Catholic Church and the Presbyterian Church and the Episcopalian Church and some of the others that, Methodist churches that do adopt the practice of following the Common Lectionary, the prescribed scriptures for the seasons of the Christian year. And so today the gospel lesson from the lectionary, not my choice, is apocalyptic. It's from Luke 21, verses 25 through 36. And this is Jesus speaking. If you look this up in your Bibles, it's got the red letters right here. Luke 21. There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. On earth, there will be dismay among nations in their confusion over the roaring of the sea and the surging waves. The planets, did they know about planets? The planets and other heavenly bodies will be shaken, causing people to faint from fear and foreboding of what is coming into the world. Then they will see the human one, coming on a cloud with power and great splendor. Now when these things begin to happen, stand up straight, raise your head, because your redemption is near. Jesus told them a parable. Look at the fig tree and all the trees. When they sprout leaves, you can see for yourselves and know that summer is near. In the same way, when you see things happening, you know that God's kingdom is near. I assure you that this generation won't pass away until everything has happened. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will certainly not pass away. Take care that your hearts aren't dulled by drinking parties, drunkenness, and the anxieties of day-to-day life. Don't let that day fall upon you unexpectedly, like a trap. It will come upon everyone who lives on the face of the whole earth. Stay alert at all times, praying that you are strong enough to escape everything that is about to happen and to stand before the human one. The gospel of our Lord Jesus Christ. Thanks be to God. Yep, the apocalypse. It's a fun word to say. But it's not a fun idea. It's a perfect way to start Advent. Because baked into the season of expectation, I'm gesturing towards the manger, is the already and the not yet. Jesus was already born in Bethlehem of Judea. We have the story of it in our Bibles. And yet we are preparing for Jesus to be born. The already and the not yet. In fact, in just a few minutes, when we celebrate Holy Communion, we will recite the mystery of faith. Christ has died. Christ is risen. Christ will come again. And that's the way we can conceptualize it, because our thinking is linear. Our time is linear. There's a beginning, there's a middle, there's an end. Past, present, future. Charles Dickens, The Three Ghosts. The already, the now, and the not yet. Time is linear for us. Time is not linear for God. Right? Okay. Come with me on this. It's a little bit of a mind blower. You know, the universe is expansive and ever expanding. It's hard to conceive of that. So here we are. We are already all in heaven, as we are here now and haven't been born yet. You follow? Nope. See? We think in terms of linear. Our time is linear. God's time is not. We are already all in heaven. We are here now. We have not been born into this world yet. Advent is the preparation for the Christ child to be born and the expectation of the return of Christ in the second coming. It's all baked in there together. But if you think about it non-linearly, there's no first and second. There just is. Already there, not yet. And in the past as well. So we prepare for the coming of Christ, and in that prepare for the coming of Christ, who already came and already is, we also prepare for the Christ that will come again. But the end, the apocalypse, is not a real popular topic for Christmas time. Even less popular is that last bit that I read. The admonition to stay vigilant. What? Christmas is about the parties, Jesus. I'll read it again in case you didn't hear it. Take care that your hearts aren't dulled by drinking parties, drunkenness, and the anxieties of day-to-day life. Don't let that day fall upon you unexpectedly like a trap. It will come upon everyone who lives on the face of the earth. Stay alert at all times, praying that you are strong enough to escape everything that is about to happen and to stand before the human one. Now, usually, we associate fasting with Lent, right? Not Advent. But in the Eastern Church, they observe a nativity fast in preparation for the birth of Christ. And they fast particularly from gluttony. Uh-oh, now you've gone to meddling, preacher. And we are invited this year to an understanding of fasting. I do not like this concept very much. As making room for the holy. As a way to push ourselves and our needs and our wants and the things that we really are like attached to right now aside to make room for something else or someone else. Because, and this may be news to some of you, Christmas is not your birthday. It's his. Still, it's fun to say, but sometimes I can't. The apocalypse is a downer for the beginning of Advent, especially the no party business, the killjoy, Jesus. But upon closer inspection, if you read it, I've read it several times, preaching on it, he's concerned with the condition of the heart. Go back to that thing. Let not your hearts be dulled. Uh-oh. Let no one have a dulled heart. Don't let this creep up on you like a trap. But stay alert. Pray for strength. The strength to stand. It reminds me of Stephen King's apocalyptic novel, the same name, The Stand. Very, very long novel. So if you don't want to read it, there's several made-for-TV movies. You can have that. But in the story, a pandemic, not this one we had, a different one. He had to go on social media and tell everybody this isn't the same. It wipes out 99% of the population. And the remainder, who seem to be immune, I don't know how, but they're told in dreams to travel and meet up with two characters. There's like a devil character angel character, and then in the dreams you're told to go one way or the other. And then they all end up traveling there. And that's what the story's about. It's like kind of like the Lord of the Rings, where they have to travel through. It's really America, because they're both in the western, the middle of the country, and closer to the west, like Colorado and Las Vegas. That's kind of where they are. But so they all have to travel and make a pilgrimage there. And then the backdrop of all of this is that they're trying to recreate society with like this many people now, because everyone died. So as they're trying to rebuild society, there's this classic battle of good and evil. And the good guys have to go to the bad guys and make their stand. And that's why it's called The Stand. The characters deal with that all too pertinent question of why? Why make a stand? What are you standing for? What are you standing against? And they have to really wrestle with themselves in the story in order to get up the courage to go to the bad guys and make the stand. And there's like 4 of them that go and 3 of them die. And one of them prevails, and they prevail in the end. Obviously, they prevail in the end. What they say about the end. It'll all be okay in the end. If it's not okay, it's not the end, right? Of course, you can read the novel, and all this is explained and it's evident. But one side champions order under a totalitarian regime, and the other values freedom and self-expression, and order is only maintained because people are kind and compassionate. It's a classic tale of good versus evil. But it makes me think, because I know about that story, if we are dulled in our hearts, all of us here now, by taking our eyes off what is most important, by not understanding our why do we stand? If we are too worried, or too distracted, or too drunk, whatever, that's what it says, we won't be strong enough to stand and face what is coming. And friends, it's not all apocalyptic in that fantastic sense, like in the King novel or in the other millions of novels that people write about dystopian ends of the earth, and the ones that people did where they made a little composite of biblical scriptures, which probably weren't ever meant to be read together like that, but they did it, and put it out there into the world so that folks can get all excited about it and get nervous and whatever. People like to read things that scare them, but it's not all apocalyptic. The things that we need to face and stand are not always end-time things. They could be life situations, challenges to our health and relationships, challenges to our comfort level, changes in what we are used to. As time marches on, as progress happens, as our communities and our worlds and the things and the way we walk in the world change. And yes, death. All of these things, change and death, it's coming for all of us. At one time or another, we will all be challenged to stand. And here in Luke's gospel, Jesus wants us to be ready. We can't let distractions dull us. We need to try to refrain from numbing our emotions. That sound familiar? With all the shiny and sparkly and delicious, except for Saturday, please come and get the cookies, okay? I'm not going to dog that, all right? We're going to carve out a little time for the cookies. But we need to just stop numbing ourselves with gluttony and sparkling and the distractions and the trappings. That's why they call them the trappings, because Jesus says, here's the trap. That's why if you look around our sanctuary this morning, it may look a little different to you. Hopefully it does, if you're paying attention. We have traded burlap for the satin and velvet. We have simple pine cones instead of shiny boxes. We have images of rough wood and a candle lantern instead of our tall gold candles. You know those tall gold candles? Christmas time is usually the time to pull out all the stops, make everything shiny bright and elaborate and ridiculous and go overboard. And next year, we'll have all the gingerbread men and the nutcrackers and all the little things that have nothing to do with Jesus but have everything to do with Christmas, right? But if you look around this sanctuary, this is intentional. This is a thought that was put into the visual images that we would like to evoke this Advent season, to think about what it meant for Jesus to be born in such a rough condition and to come into the world in such a rough condition, and to make of that place that's not sparkly or shiny or glittery, holy. And so we're taking some of the trappings of it. We still lit everything because we love twinkle lights. We can't resist it. We're taking away some of the sparkly and shiny and glittery parts so that we can take the focus and put it back on what's most important. All these images are meant to evoke the stable, where that innkeeper thought out of the box to house the holy that night. And we are on a journey in Advent. We've traded our fancy frills for something more substantial, more down to earth, images and thoughts that keep us alert, strong, and able to stand, that keep us sharp, that remind us of what's most important. Because I think we all need a reminder. I do. I'm not always sitting on the edge of what's God going to do today. I got all these things in front of me that are distracting me. None of them, some of them aren't holy. I'm like, none of them are holy. Maybe 3 of them. We're turning away, though. The intention is that this Advent season, we're turning away from the distractions. So, what will your nativity fast consist of? What are you going to do to keep alert this season of Advent? How will you stay sharp and be ready? You can decide today, because today's December 1st. It's the first Sunday in Advent. Got a whole month. I'm going to start by taking the focus off me. And what I mean by that is, I'm going to let my comfort, my expectations of a perfect holiday, and all the trappings, I'm going to let all that fall aside. Or try to do something that will help me let all that fall to the side. Or at least I'm going to try. So I've accepted the Trevor Project's 40-mile challenge, because, I'm a runner. I don't run very fast, but, I try. It's a 40-mile challenge for December. You run 40 miles to raise money for the mental health of LGBTQ youth. Now, that's something beyond myself, right? Not a member of the LGBTQ community, and nor am I considered a youth. But I do run. A little slowly, but that's my thing. And so I can do something to encourage something that's beyond my understanding or myself, or something that I'm not directly benefiting from, but I can make sure it benefits someone else. It makes the world a more just and fair and beautiful place for someone else. So that's my thing. But what's yours? It could be reading a book that encourages you to see the world through the eyes of someone not like yourself. It could be volunteering at a food pantry, or reading to young kids at school, or just a simple practice of everywhere you go and everything you do, restaurants and stores, asking other people more about themselves than you offer about yourself. Think of a way you can stay focused and ready to house the holy this Advent, because this is what happens all too often. And it happens to me. It's still different for me because I'm a mom and I'm a preacher, and there's the whole thing with Christmas is just like, it can be too much. We get swept up in the party planning and the baking and the shopping and the decorating, and before we know it, it's Christmas Eve. It's here. It's time to welcome the Christ child, but we're not ready to make room for Jesus. We've been too distracted. We can't house the holy because our life is all filled up and we've got junk in there, and it doesn't feel good. We're dulled by the distractions, and the day comes upon us like a trap, exactly the way Jesus said. The drunkenness, the anxiety. We filled ourselves. We don't have room. Let every part prepare him room. Well, some of us get to Christmas Eve and sing, "Oh, come all you faithful." That's the first thing we sing at Christmas Eve. And we haven't been able to let our hearts make room because we've been doing everything in the Christmas season to make ourselves feel better somehow. It will happen just like Jesus describes it in Luke's gospel. Don't let that day fall upon you unexpected, like a trap. Instead, move over. Make room for someone or something else that represents who Jesus is. Move over and make room. Stay alert. Stay sharp. Don't lose your Advent edge. I made that one up myself. And stand. Stand. We're going to celebrate the sacrament of Holy Communion to kick off our Advent. That's how we kick off Advent almost every single Advent. Sometimes it happens in November, then we have to have communion the next Sunday. But today we are getting to start Advent with Holy Communion. We end Advent with Holy Communion because we have communion on Christmas Eve. It's such a beautiful bookend because this holy meal that we share in together is so vitally important to the life of the church. Jesus was only with his disciples that night when he invited them to break bread with him.